All right, good morning, everyone. It is 8:42 on the morning of September 15th, 2021, and this is my morning strategy session. So today, the first thing that we're looking at here is CTXS, Citrix Systems, and this is one that has popped up recently. I don't remember if I tried to trade this one or not a few days ago here, well, I guess we can just kind of go through some of the basics here. Back here on the 22nd of July, 2020, a little over a year ago, Citrix Systems hit a high of $173.56. As of its last earnings report on the 29th of July, 2021, it hit this low, this recent low, of $94.73. So it has experienced a 45% pullback since its high in July of 2020. And so typically speaking, there are a lot of investors who will see a company that they like and see a 50% pullback on it, which this is close. It's not quite 50%, but it's really close. And say, you know what, that's a buy for a long-term hold. So now today, in recent days here, hit this low and then ran up. Now it gapped up earlier this was this week? Is that right? Or is that last week, early in the month? Gapped up, opened at 110 after closing the previous day around 103, and then after it gapped, it kind of put in this sort of kind of consolidation. The 4 days following its gap up, it consolidated. Now it's gapping up again, and so I have no reason to suspect that this is going to be anything other than a repeat of what happened on the 8th, which is it gapped up and sold off. So, will there be a bounce at some point during the day? I don't know. It's possible. Anything's possible. Is this thing actually starting to perform a climb again to say, get back to sort of a mean, back to its sort of regular pricing? I don't know. Where's value on this thing? I don't know. So today, the way that I'm looking at this thing is somewhat of a normal gap up. I have a little bit of a bias to the downside. Having a bias is something that's not good for trading. I mean, you need to really, when I trade, I need to check my bias at the door and just go off of what's happening on the chart. So if I go off of just what's happening on the chart, I can pull up, here's a Fibonacci from the top, from its very top here to its recent low. And that puts support somewhere around $114.39. Now, also, if I put in a Fibonacci just for the gap from today's open to yesterday's close, you can see here, if it opened right now, it would open up at $115 even. You can see there's support somewhere around $113.66. So I'm just going to have to see how this thing acts. I don't think that I'm going to put orders in on this thing pre-market or right after the bell rings for either of these levels. I'll want to see how it behaves. If it comes down to that level, to say this 113.66 level, comes down and then punches back through again, then I'll trade that. If it comes down below its open a little bit and then punches back through its open, I'll trade that. But as of right now, I don't have any confidence in this CTX hitting support level and bouncing away, simply because of what it did here on the 8th, which is right here. So here on the 8th, you can see that it opened. This is the 10-minute chart. It opened at 111, ran up to as high as 112, but then just spent the rest of the day sagging down for the rest of the day here. What it's going to do today, I'm not really sure, but I do know that I'm willing to trade it if it goes below level and punches back through again. If buyers step in at a certain price level, then I'll participate. All right. Then there's INDP. Now this is a small cap. It's interesting. So INDP. There's a patent that was okay. Indaptus Therapeutics receives notice of allowance for strategic patent. Now, I don't know. It's been a while since I've looked at patent. I actually used to be a patent examiner, pretty low level, stuff. Did it for about a year before doing something else, going into satellite communications, essentially. And there are only two types of patents that I was aware of at that time. Now it's been 20 years since I did that, but there was the utility patent and the design patent. I don't know what a strategic patent is, but apparently the company here, INDP, has received a strategic patent. And let me read this to you here. And so there are a whole bunch of questions that come after a patent. There are a lot of people who think, oh yeah, I got issued a patent, I'm going to be rich. Somebody's going to buy it from me, or I'm going to take this product to market and it's going to be a sensation or what have you. That's really not true. Patents are, it's tough to get a patent. It takes 5 years at least in order to actually get issued the patent. There's a gigantic legal process behind it, and it's very it's a painstaking process, and it's not a nice process. I mean, you get a lot of lawyers involved in something, and it turns out to be really kind of twisted and difficult to navigate. So being, that they actually did receive this strategic patent, then okay, good for them, they got it. But there's a lot more that comes behind that, which is, do they have something that's marketable? Do they have something that's profitable? And while I'm on that, talking about marketability and profitability, let's take a look real quick. I don't know if it's kind of small on your screen here. I've got the revenues and earnings little chart here from dated as far back as 2017, and they have zero revenues from, so they're not even there's this stock, that for a company that's done nothing but lose money. I mean, look, you've got net income of negative 28.9 million, net income of negative 43.5 million, 2019 negative 47 million. Then 2020, negative 14.13 million, and zero revenues across the board. So how does Wall Street view this? We'll find out today. We'll see what happens. You can see here, actually, it's trying to break through its pre-market price here. If you can see, it's actually running up as I'm talking about it. Pre-market high is $12.86. When I just started talking about it, it was down here at approximately $11.50, so it's run up by $1 a share as I'm talking about it. But anyway, so here's the news release. Indaptus Therapeutics receives notice of allowance for strategic patent. Let's see. Let me get into the nuts and bolts here. Today announced that the United States Patent and Trademark Office has issued a notice of allowance for claims related to the company's platform technology. The patent, titled Methods of Treatment of Infections Using Bacteria, provides broad protection for the application of the company's platform technology alone and in combination with standards of care for the treatment and inhibition of hepatitis B and human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. Then it goes into a quote. We are delighted to expand our growing patent estate, and this notice of allowance provides further validation of the novel approach of our Indaptis platform technology as it relates to viral infections, said Dr. Michael Newman, founder and chief scientific officer. Okay, so a little bit further. This notice of allowance gives us the optionality to confidently pursue our technology in viral diseases and/or to partner it for further development. All right, so I don't know. Will Wall Street reward Indaptis Therapeutics today, or will they just kind of punish anybody that tries to trade it? We get to find out. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. The thing, another thing about this stock is that as of right now, it says the total common shares outstanding is 1.85 million on TradingView, but on Trade Ideas, the float is said to be 2.88 million. So let's go to Yahoo Finance and see what Yahoo Finance says about its shares outstanding and its float. INDP. Statistics. Says float is NA, shares outstanding 5.41 million. Okay. Well, 5.41 million. Now they did a reverse split back here. Let me see if I can find the reverse split. Here it is, right here. Is a 1 for 4. Yeah. So they did a reverse split. So if Yahoo has 5.4 million and it hasn't been updated, 5 by 4. 1.35 million would be its shares outstanding then. So who knows? They've got 3 different sources for shares outstanding and 3 different answers for the number of shares. So it's anywhere between 1.85 million and 2.88 million. Who knows what's going on here with the number of shares outstanding and its float. So the thing here is, if it's got a really low float like that and you get half the people who don't want to sell, half the people who aren't even paying attention, then you get something that can squeeze pretty quickly on relatively low volume. Now, pre-market here, it has already traded 8.7 million shares. So whether it has an outstanding of 1.85 or a float of 2.88. It's rolled over its float somewhere between 2 and 3 times before the bell even rings. Usually that means it's a crowded trade and you've got a lot of people who are in here at the top. And if this thing decides to start tanking past its pre-market lows here, right in here, then there's going to be some very fast and heavy selling. So we'll see what happens today. If it gives a setup on the 1 minute, the momentum setup on the 1 minute chart, then I'll take a shot at it. All right, and that is basically CTXS and INDP are the only things on my scanner, on my large cap scanner and my small cap scanner that I'm looking at today. I might have to make a mid cap scanner. There are days, sometimes like the past few days, where there's very little on either scanner to watch for pre-market setups. Okay, so the broader market here, if the S&P, or I should say, if the SPY, which is a proxy for the S&P, if it opened up right now, it would open up 0.12% higher than yesterday's close. Kind of flat. We've got a little bit of some selling pressure going on here for the past about a week or so. On the SPY, there's a gigantic amount of bearish sentiment that's building because of a couple of things. There hasn't been a 10% correction in like 200 and some days. the time of the year, September, October, is just generally kind of tumultuous. There's I guess some positioning going on for the end of the year. There's some types, hedge fund types and portfolio management types who are cutting their losers. They're looking at the end of the year and they need to be able to meet and beat their benchmarks, and so some of these laggards that just aren't performing, or some of these things that seem to have hit their highs and aren't going to bolster their portfolio values. There's some selling going on, so there's a little bit of pressure going into the last couple of months. But then typically November and December are pretty good positive months for the market in general. So yeah, there's a little bit of selling pressure going on here. Will the market correct? Will it actually go into a 10% correction? I don't know. I really don't think so. I think that there's a slowdown that's already occurring now, which means that the general market, the market overall, has already discounted that like 6 months ago, 3 to 6 months ago. So going forward, there's some really rather bullish forecasting going on for Q1 and Q2 of 2022. And I imagine that right now, this is whatever we're seeing now is just sort of a little bit of quiet before the next round of bullish moves in this rather reliable uptrend that we've been in now for since February, March. I'd say since April of 2020, really. Very, very small pullbacks since this bottom was put in back here at the end of March. So then the VIX. Now the VIX, what I like to see is the VIX pop up on any kind of pop up on the VIX. I like to see it be episodic and non-trending. Now what we have here though is a VIX that's making higher lows. There have been these three higher lows right here on the VIX. It's a little bit spooky. The part of being a successful investor and trader is being comfortable being uncomfortable. So when I see a trend like this, let's get rid of these brush marks. Let's kind of clean it up a little bit, make it easier to see. This is, this is created. There have been 3 touches here. And that has created a bottoming trend for the VIX, right? So what I'm just going to leave this line up, and I'm looking for a break of this support line on the VIX. And I think that after the support line is broken, that fear is going to. There is some fear in the market right now because of the sort of end of year jockeying for the big boys to be able to make their benchmarks and so forth. So for the time being, I think the trend on the VIX is up, but I don't foresee the VIX. I don't see us hitting this top end line up here anytime soon. I think this is just going to be the VIX sort of elevated for an amount of time. The data, and the reason that I have this is so the hedge fund consultancy firm that I use is the data that they're forecasting is really quite bullish for the market. There's just going to be this lull in the meantime. So that's the only thing that I'm using to base my VIX prediction on. Otherwise, yeah, I think we're just in a bit of a soft patch in both the economy and the market. And it's very temporary. I mean, unless there's some kind of crazy black swan event, like China's not able to meet its obligations in dollars for all of the crazy real estate and borrowing it's done, kind of thing. If China starts to default on its dollar debt, and there's some serious dominoes that start to fall there, then we'll see a pretty harsh down movement. But then I think that the Fed will just kind of sweep right in, and start buying up whatever kind of assets they can here in the United States in order to keep things propped up. We'll see what happens. Okay. Here's Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, had this incredible dump here on the 7th of September after, what is it, a South American country, I've forgotten which one it is, came out and said, yep, we're official, we're using Bitcoin as currency, and Bitcoin then sold off, which is really, really quite unfortunate. El Salvador, I think, I can't remember, but it seems to have caught bids here as it got close to 42,000, and their buyers came in and bought it up before it hit 42,000. So, we'll see what happens. I've got the 17th marked off, and I just kind of eyeballed that time frame. I don't know why I put it there. I don't know what the significance. There is no significance. It's just an eyeballing of a time frame. I think 6 weeks after it, hit 42,000, then broke through and so forth. Just kind of spitballing a time frame when to expect a significant up or down move. It's just charting, so we'll see what happens. If my timing is good, then something's going to happen with Bitcoin on the 17th. We'll see. I don't really play Bitcoin anyway. Okay, so yeah, that's my morning strategy session, everybody. A pretty light morning for the number of stocks that I have on watch. There's something else just really quickly, is that ABCL is popping up. Let's check the news here. September 13th. Acquires. There's an acquisition on the 13th. There's only, let me see if there's something new on Street Smart Edge here. ABCL. See if there's new news. Okay, Abcelera announces collaboration with Moderna to discover therapeutic antibodies for mRNA medicines. Oh, okay, so a small one, which I guess you could say this is small. It's not exactly small, but ABCL is smaller than Moderna, certainly, if you just look at share cost. I think Moderna's, let's look at it real quick. Which one's Moderna? mRNA. Yeah, Moderna's at $429.44. When a small one partners up with a big one, usually the small one stock price gets a boost, as you can see here, about $1 boost here. So this is interesting. This is an interesting move. It's at the top end of this range that I had. I don't remember trading this, but you can see here the top end of this candle is right where the price is now, $18.95, and the close on this candle is at $17.89. And here, pre-market, you can see it best on the 10-minute here. It's popped up right in between those two lines. Interesting technical little coincidence there. Okay, and another thing too, okay, so CTXS, this move on CTXS, this is only on volume of 61,735 shares, so almost 62,000 shares. So a pop up like that on 62,000 shares, I don't want to say it's not reliable, but it isn't a significant amount of trading in comparison. Let's take a look here on average. I really need to put in an average volume, but this thing's trading, somewhere around 1 million shares a day, 1 million plus a day. And pre-market, the pre-market movement is only based on 62,000 shares. Just kind of keep that in mind if you're going to trade it. All right, everybody. Good luck out there. Keep your risk tight. Click like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, tap the bell, and I will see you at the recap. I am out.